I'm so excited you guys are here because I'm opening my doors to my one-on-one coaching program, Find Your Yes, because we all deserve to live a life that feels like a hell yes. Women are leaders, and leadership is found in entrepreneurship, leading teams within a business, volunteer organizations, your community, and at home with your family. Whether you're desiring to make a transformation into leadership or you want to up-level your skills to become a more effective leader, this program is for you. I've been leading at work and at home for over a decade, and this is what I know. It wasn't until I did the inner work that I personally needed to do that my leadership skills really improved. And that's why I created the Find Your Yes program. So you don't have to do the inner work alone. As someone who has been there, I will guide you as we work through your shadows, heal past traumas, overcome self-limiting beliefs, and watch you transform from the inside out. So if you're ready to create a life that feels like a hell yes, head over to www.jessiblois.com/contact to book a call, or head over to my Instagram @JessieBlois and send me a DM. I'm so excited to connect and to find your yes.
Okay, I'm here with the Jessica Bennett, which for me is a super big deal. And I'm beyond thrilled that you are on the podcast today, Jess. Hi.
Oh, hi. I can't, I'm nervous. Am I okay?
I'm nervous because I'm like, I feel like I have a really big deal on the podcast right now because I do. So I'm like, I better just do this well. I'm so happy you're here. Honestly, I have no idea where this conversation is going to go today, and I'm so excited for it. So we'll start off so everyone can know who you are and a little bit about you, and then we're just going to let the conversation flow because I know you and I could talk forever.
Yeah, strap in. This might be a 4-hour podcast.
Right? I know. We're going to have to be like, okay, wait, we actually have things we have to do and kids we have to take care of. Okay, so quickly, just you're from London, you're in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a little bit of background about you.
Okay, so background about me is that I was a professional dancer for 11 or 12 years. I lived in London when I was training, and then I traveled a load in my career. And during my career, I started like a blog called Very Jessica, which then in the pandemic, I became a business. So I'm now a reprogramming coach and healer, and I work with really amazing people all the time. I still dabble in a bit of dance. And yeah, it's just a really interesting journey. I'm sure we'll get into that more. And I'm a mom, so I have a 2-year-old son, Oakley. I was very cliche. I got pregnant in the pandemic. Like,
I have nothing to do. Knock me up.
Yeah, okay, I'll have a baby. And I'm very lucky, and I know, to have him. But that's been a whole mindset journey too. So I'm currently living in the US. Me and my husband work in a show here. He's a singer. I dance in the show. I like swing, so I'm in it like every now and again. And then I work online. So I'm in Missouri. I'm right in the middle of America, which is totally random as well for me. Like when I tell people at home where I am, they're like, "You're where?" I'm like, "I know."
Okay, so you're also just downplaying a little bit about what you do now because you work with a lot of people and you have a huge reach and you teach and you're really touching so many lives all the time and where you've taken your career. So go ahead.
It's kind of interesting. And do you know what? It's funny because it's happened so quickly that I literally can't believe it. So I think sometimes I do forget, but I also am a trainer at a company called Yes Supply. So I'm teaching hypnotherapy, emotional freedom techniques, mindset work, subconscious mind reprogramming techniques. And through that, I have become one of the leading reprogramming coaches because of the prestige I have and that I'm teaching and all of this stuff. So within the last 3 years, my impact has hugely grown. So I'm teaching other coaches or leaders every day. And then I work a lot with performers or just people I say with big energy in my healing business because of the struggles that life brings. And that's, everything lights me up so much, but seeing the journey, both sides of my work reflect the same thing in that I'm seeing the journey to someone standing in themselves more than ever,
Yeah. and it's beautiful work. And you work with a lot of people that have a lot going on and a lot on their plates and really big energy. And they really come to you for that, finding that center and that grounding and that healing energy so that they can do what they're meant to do. And
Yeah.
then you're out there teaching it to other people so more people can help more people. And you're
Yeah.
momming and you're performing. So you're doing a
Yeah.
lot and you're
Yeah.
away from family.
Yeah.
What made you guys decide to come to the United States?
Honestly, just to be totally honest, we were at like a what are we going to do moment. Like
Okay.
we were just at okay, we both, so to give you a bit of background, we were working on a cruise ship when the pandemic hit. And like when I say I was working on a cruise ship, people were like, oh, you must work so hard. But actually, we got paid a lot of money to do not a lot.
Okay. That
Like
sounds
we had
wonderful.
it, we
Sign
had
me
it
up.
sweet, and I don't realize now till I look back how sweet I had it. I'm like on the beach all day, and I would get paid because you're away. I would get paid every day, whether I was working or not. And we were performers, and we just worked in the evenings.
Is that where
Uh,
you guys met, or did you guys together decide to work on the ship?
we met in another company in Australia working on ships together, and then we decided to go to this company together. And they were really loyal. They always hired us together, gave us rooms together, and we were really well respected in the company. So we were doing really well, and um, so I was working on the ship, and then I mean that industry, not only the performing arts industry, but the cruise ship industry was battered, in the
Yeah.
pandemic. And
Yeah.
I always say, look, I know I was super privileged that we were able to go back in. We lived with my in-laws. We had food. We were like we were fine. But our prospects of the next few years had gone. We had a wedding booked. Our wedding booked in July, like the £60,000 wedding or whatever that we would gonna all got cancelled. We were on really good money collectively between us. And because we didn't pay tax at home, we filed tax because we were away on ships so much. You get an allowance, so we hadn't really paid much tax for the last couple of years because there's a seafarer's allowance.
Okay.
So therefore we couldn't get any help, which I agree with. You had to pay in to get out, so we didn't really get much help from the government. So we were kind of here just like from having this whole next chapter of our lives planned, getting married, to the just sitting in our in-laws house like, okay, what are we going to do? And then I went down this coaching. My husband was working in Sainsbury's overnight, so like Walmart overnight, like packing the online orders. So he would
Okay.
get like 1 a.m. and he would come back at like 7 or 8 a.m. And he was I love him more than ever because of how he showed up in that time. He went from being like center stage singing, belting his face off every night, to working in a supermarket, and he never moaned. Like he just did what he had to do, and that made me fall in love with him even more.
Yeah.
I loved that. But at the same time, and I was working in a coffee shop and we're getting on with it. And then I feel like this is a long story, but I'm
No,
just
it's
gonna fill
okay.
you in with
Yeah, do it.
so that's when I decided to go all in on my business. So when I finally had no income is when I decided to spend the most on myself. It's like I ran out of excuses. So that's when I took Yes Supply.
Yeah.
So I took it then. I was like, I already had my blog running. I was doing like self-love challenges, helping people, but I was lost. I wasn't doing it I didn't know what I was doing as such. I just knew I inspired people naturally. That's literally all I did it off. People would leave me feeling more inspired. And so I
Uh-huh.
wanted to do that on a bigger scale. And he had like 200 followers on Instagram, but I loved it. But I did Yes Supply and I went all in, and we got married. We ran away and got married just with us and 20 people instead, because that was the laws at the time, and cancelled our wedding. But we still had this money for our wedding, and we thought we were going to go back on ships,
Okay.
right? So we're like, this is going to pass and we'll go back. So let's just
Yeah.
spend our savings. that was that we'll go back.
Oh,
And you can save a lot of money on a ship. You don't pay rent, blah, blah, blah. So we moved to Costa Rica for 3 months. Because
you've really been places.
I've been places. Yeah,
That's
we moved to Costa
amazing.
Rica in the pandemic because we were working these jobs. We were about to go into lockdown again. We'd got married, and we were like, hey, why are we just sitting here doing this? Let's just go have an experience. We have nothing to be here for, really. We can't go see anyone we love. So let's just get out of here. And we went, and in Costa Rica, I was getting more clients. My business was starting to pick up, and the ships had started to reach out saying, you know, what does everyone want when we do eventually come back? And I asked the universe for a sign because I didn't know whether to stick with my business and keep going or whether to go back to safety on the ships and get paid. And I came back from Costa Rica, and a week later I found out I was pregnant.
Well, you got your sign.
So I got my sign. And so to answer why I even started this story is then I came home, we had no savings because we just spent them all on doing our thing. We had no house. I was pregnant. We had no jobs. I had a business that was starting to earn me a little bit of money, but also I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, what are we going to do? And that's when the opportunity with Yes Supply came up, you know, which was really perfect and amazing and expanding my impact and my mission so much. But my husband was still a singer, like didn't know what to do. So we'd moved out my in-laws by now. We just had my son. And this opportunity came up to go here. And it was just like, do you know what? Why not? Why not? And that's why we're here.
And how long have you been here for?
We moved like a year and a half.
So much of that was just you. I mean, I don't know if you felt like this, but really just letting go and being guided.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think that it's really interesting what the impact the pandemic had on us in surrendering, because I don't know if I would have ever left the safety net of that job.
Do you think it was easier because you were doing it together?
In ways, yes, but in other ways it's been difficult because you have to really consider each other. We didn't come to the same parts of our journey at the same time.
Okay.
So like when we moved here, I was quite happy at home. I had my little group of mum friends. My business was doing well. I had a great job. I was close to my mom. I was doing really great. But Martin was still pretty like lost in regards. He'd been working away for 6 weeks at a time when we had a newborn baby, and he didn't do that anymore. So I do think it's easier because we had together, but I think it would have been easy to like be selfish as well. But of course, having each other in that time made it so much easier, and going to Costa Rica together helped us grow together, I think. So yeah, it definitely was easier to have each other.
And what's it been like going from London to Missouri?
Jesse.
Okay. If you could give me one sentence to summarize that. I'm just kidding.
It's so bizarre. It's such a mixture of things. Like I don't really want to stay here. But it's given me so much beauty and joy, and I've learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
It's such a slower pace. Like I didn't think I'd have culture shock going to America because I spent a lot of time in America, but in cities. But the first 6 months I really struggled.
Well, you're not just okay, hold on. So you're moving from London to America and a small town. You're leaving your family. You're leaving your friends. Your husband's starting a brand new job. He's performing at night, so you're home. But let's just talk about the major change. You have a baby. You're a brand new mom. You're postpartum. That in itself is a huge transition. So you're doing all of these things at once, and you're really leaving your support system.
Yeah. And exactly. And Oakley was 5 months old when we came out here. And part of me was like so determined because I always said like, I didn't just want to, and this isn't even a negative because I actually really wish we were more settled, but I didn't just want to choose somewhere to live and find a job just because we had a baby. Now, in my mind, I was going to have a baby once I'd bought a house and got a job I loved. And
that plan we give ourselves.
That fun plan, and obviously it didn't happen. And so I was like, I still don't know what we want to do. We still don't know where we want to live. So I want to teach my son that, take a risk.
Yeah.
And so it's hard, but that kind of kept me going. It's like we're taking the risk, we're making these bold moves, and I know I'll make another one soon because I can feel it coming.
Can you?
Yeah, because I feel like when it starts to get too safe or too easy, it's like I know something's going to come up. to make me take a leap somewhere else. But what I have learned from being here and the real positives is that I do like having space. I like it's much more, we're in the Ozarks, there's a lot of space, it's a slower pace, which I never thought I wanted, but I have a deep appreciation for it now.
Yeah. I think this is something that I don't hear talked about a lot, but if you're willing to go here, as somebody that works, I mean, I know you are because you're awesome and open, but as somebody that works in a profession where you're teaching other people how to help others and you're helping others, what's it like when you are in a dark place? How do you show up for others? Like, let me help you. But then, on your own time, you're struggling with the move or becoming a new mom or feeling lonely. What's that juxtaposition like for you?
It's so funny because asking that question now, like 18 months later, I feel like have a different answer, because at the time it can make you really feel like a failure. Like, who am I to show up and do this when I'm not doing well? But I seem to have this magical skill of being able to shut it off. I don't know if that's from being a dancer, because I've gone on stage when I've had like the worst news, and I've still had to step out on stage and be like as a dancer, you don't really, no one's going to go, oh, do you want the night off?
Yeah, I mean, I think that must be a huge part in it. You really have had to, because I mean, you've been dancing since what age? What age did you start? You were young.
I went to my first dance school, the Brit School, which is like a music school at home. They had a dance section too when I was 14. So that's when I started my professional training.
Okay, so from a very young age, you're taught like, put this aside, it's time to perform.
Yeah. And it's like, you're also aware as a dancer that I was certainly aware that there was loads of other dancers. So if you don't go on stage, or if you fuck about, or here we go. Sorry, I swear.
Do it.
There's somebody waiting for your job. That's how I always felt anyway.
So you're always replaceable.
You're so replaceable. How many female dancers are there in the world who want to dance? So I think that helped, but then also was detrimental to me creating time for myself. So what was really beautiful is that my loneliness, there's this Adele lyric. It's like, sometimes loneliness is the only rest we get. Is this Adele lyric?
Yeah.
I was lonely. I've never felt lonely before having a baby. I've never understood loneliness. I love being on my own, but I felt very isolated. I'm in the middle of America. My mum is, and I'm close with my mum. My mum is a 12-hour flight away. That's $1,000 or whatever. And it was hard, but in turn, that the thing that was a struggle became my healing, because that space forced me to deal with myself.
What did you learn about yourself in that time?
I learned that I am so strong.
Yeah.
I am so much stronger than I think. And that it really doesn't take that. I work well when I'm inspired. So what I can tell when I'm out of alignment, when I just want to like numb and do nothing. Whereas like I would put Oakley to bed, and I would light my sage, and I would journal, and I'd put on my music, and I would dance, and I'd cry. And it became like my retreat space. My evenings, which are the part I hated at first, became my healing.
And then did it turn in? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. For work, I was just going to say how, because of your original question, like that just became like that. I think it was part of my saving grace, because it was like it's so aligned with my purpose. So I was able to feed the lessons I was learning into others, and to learn from others what they were going through with me. And so it became, I really accepted that you don't have to be all together to help people. And that was a really good lesson.
I think being a human and having all those different parts actually lends to helping people more, right? If you experience what life is really about, because obviously we're all going to have times where we're doing really well and times where we're struggling. I was going to ask you, when you started making that space, like Oakley goes to bed, Martin's at work, and you have these moments in the evening when Martin's show would end or he would be home, would you be like, dude, you're in my, like, get out. This is my time.
And he would come in and like make a pizza, and I'd be like, oh. making a pizza in my sacred space,
like this is not what I do in the evening. Yeah. Get out.
And then, you know what became like 4 hours at the beginning that felt so, then this is how I know time is so about how we are projecting, because like 4 hours I would dread, and it would drag till he came back. Became, once I started making it my healing space, click, oh my, Martin's coming back, what, like he's back already. So it really started to shift, and I learned a lot about myself being with myself, and I wouldn't have done that at home because I had options, invite people around, do this, do that, and the crazy thing about being here is we're also 6 hours behind. So my evenings, like nobody's up for me to call or chat to. So they really are solo.
On your own. I think, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, you can kind of touch on it more, but I think it's when we're really challenged or we're really stripped down or we're on our knees and things fall apart that we really are able to find out who we are, where the beauty is in all of it. I know you and I have talked a lot, and I've mentioned it a couple times on the podcast without detail, but I don't know what, 2.5 or 3 months ago now, my world kind of shattered, and you've seen me, I don't want to get emotional, but you've been, instrumental in me processing through all that. But you're just in the hamster wheel.
Right.
Life is such a hamster wheel. And unfortunately, I think if you're not going to check yourself, sometimes the universe is like, all right, I'll do it for you. And it does. Then you have to stop. You have to be still and be alone. And, in that loneliness is when a lot is found out, and it fucking hurts. But I do think, beauty, I don't think I know, like beauty does come through. But for me, it's just like, are we there yet?
I know. And I think that's I think that's why so many people don't do it, Jessie. Like I see so many people who, if they just gave themselves that space, they would be on the other side, but they're not. They're going to stay in this. It feels safer to stay in my pain than to try and have the courage to work through it, because I see everyone numbs out. This always stays in my head. I met this guy in Costa Rica, 65, had worked in banking, finance his whole life, had a heart attack at 63 just from pure stress. And most people are going into hospitals with stress-related illness, let's be honest, right? So he had a heart attack, nearly lost his life. And at 63, he went, what am I doing?
Yeah, what the hell is this for?
Why am I doing this? Yeah. It packed up his whole life, went to Costa Rica, makes music, plays his guitar, which he just kind of did at the weekends for fun when and like I have chills thinking about it. But I kept thinking to myself, I don't want to wait for a heart attack. I don't want to wait for a heart attack. I want to get there now. Like I want to be in that now. I don't want to wait for something to be stripped away from me for me to realize that life is precious.
1,000%. And I think that's what really the last 3 months I've been coming to is like, first of all, my cortisol levels they have to be through the roof. I am, a mom of 2, and that's busy and all that shit, but I'm also running a business, and the business just breeds so much anxiety for me. But then that anxiety, that energy permeates to everybody around me and my children, and my friends and my family. And you know what it does it for me is I look at my grandma, who's 96, and I think, oh my God, she lived this whole damn life. She raised 4 kids. We would go there for all the holidays. She had grandkids. She would take us places. We would travel. She would cook all these meals. She had a beautiful marriage. And now she's alone in assisted living at 96. Like life just changes. Yeah. We see her, but she lives on her own. She's not able to care for herself independently. And it just made me stop and think, like, what the fuck am I waiting for to like let it feel good?
It's like
this is it.
It's like this lie that I'm going there apparently, but like this lie that we're told that it's like, oh, no, work hard and do all this stuff so that then for the last 20 years of your life you can retire and chill out. Like what?
Maybe I mean,
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And this is, I thought it would have been it's so easy. And listen, everybody's version of happiness is different. Like, and I totally get that, but it's making sure that it is your own.
And God, this is so hard though, You
Yes.
have to spend so much time in with yourself alone in the quiet with the right people that can help you to figure out like, what is my happiness? And honestly, I'm 40. And when I turned 40, I think I realized like, I actually don't really know. Everything I thought was my happiness, like growing a business, more money, more this, more that. What I'm like, apparently that's not my happiness because something feels like it's missing. So even knowing what makes me happy, how do I get there? Is that authentic to me? Is that true? Am I showing up as the person I want to show up as? These are really big questions that take a really long time to answer.
Yeah, and do you know what's coming up for me as you're speaking about that, which this gets me really excited, is that we're so used to thinking these outside things are going to get me here, right?
Yeah.
But the discipline to just like actually choose and live in that and cultivate that state within is what's going to really move the needle. And actually, when you do that, you're physically changing your cells, your brain is shifting. When you're choosing to be in an energy, Joe Dispenza says to is something, I'm not going to get it spot on, but he says to transform your life is to be greater than your environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to be in that like and that's what's hard, especially when we have our phones, kids, TV. There's a million and one. You could easily go through the day being totally unconscious of how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
But that every day just becomes your reality.
Yeah, it does. And I listened to the podcast that you sent me with him, and it's so true. It's, it's a lot to wrap your head around because when he talks about how powerful our minds are and how they can do so much for our bodies, and I love when you told me to get out of your mind, you have to get into your body, and there's so much power in all of that. So on one end, though, you're like, it's so simple. Just choose a better feeling thought, choose a different way to think. But on the other end, there's so much happening all the time that it's so difficult.
Yeah. And
you're not
really well rehearsed this way. You know, we've been doing this for a long time. I've well rehearsed being in chaos. Yeah. And so we're used to being in peace.
Well, for a lot of us, when we're stressed out all the time, like you said, we stay in it because that is, even though it feels like shit, that's the comfort zone. That's where we know how to be. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I've struggled for so long. If I'm not stressed about something and if I'm not like trying to figure something out or trying to improve in this way or trying to grow or whatever, what the fuck am I doing?
What am I doing?
What am I supposed to think about? Like the sky? Am I supposed to think like honestly though, if I'm not trying to make something or me or whatever better, what do I do with my mind? Because I'm so conditioned
to be on the move,
to be trying to solve a problem, to be looking for the problem to solve when maybe, just maybe, there doesn't have to be a damn problem.
There doesn't have to be a problem. And I think that you're right. It's like, I always talk about it like the inner chaos, and that inner chaos, it will say nothing is ever enough. And joy is dangerous because it's vulnerable. It can be taken away. So if I'm always working, I'm in this false illusion that I have control. And these things that happen to us, like that man with the heart attack, was that reminder that you never had control. You really never had full control anyway. And so that's what kind of snaps people back. But that tricks us into thinking, if I'm doing this, I get stuck in it all the time and I burn myself out, then I remind myself to rest. And all I'll say is I feel like the cycle is getting shorter. I'm catching myself quicker. But I still do it because it's like the illusion of control and not having to be vulnerable enough to just let it all be, you know?
You have to let it all be. Brene Brown says the scariest emotion is joy.
Literally. I love Brene Brown way.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense. If I'm already in anguish, I'm here.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like.
I'm already hurt myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've already lived it. I'm already in it. I don't have to worry about it showing up. But if I'm in joy, what could happen? What could be taken away? It's so true. But it's really, I mean, you've talked to me about disciplining your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I really think it can be boiled down to that, like changing the thought pattern. And the more you work on it, the easier it gets. But it's work. It's work.
Yeah. And this is the thing that I think we can get stuck in is it's like, I'm not good at it straight away. I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, like we want to be like, we want to add a meaning to the fact that it's not easy to mean something about us. But it's like, what if I'm just practicing? What if I'm just practicing? I'm thinking this thought today. I'm feeling this way today. I'm just gonna practice and play with doing it a different way. And
Mm-hmm.
from what I have seen with the work I've done with people is that it can happen so much more authentically and so much faster when you just let yourself take the pressure off.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I think bad thoughts and if I have a bad day, it doesn't mean I failed. It
Right.
just I start again tomorrow, but
Right.
just kind of and the thoughts will be there, that I still have doubt, I still question myself, but I just choose not to hang on to it.
Do you
And
feel when you're working with a lot of people and they're trying to do these things before they really get it, they overcomplicate it?
do you know what? I'll be honest. I
Yeah.
think everyone just needs to fucking loosen up.
Yeah.
We are so wound up tight that it's like I am going to make it a project to find why this is hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that I know this is really hard. And I tell myself every day that this is really hard. And then
Yeah.
it feels really hard. Yeah, of course it's hard. But do you know what's harder? Staying the same for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think that everyone's so, I just want everyone, if I became president tomorrow, right, I would have every single person come out of their house and just scream at the
Yeah.
top of their voice and shake and scream and cry and just fucking get it out, and then go a collective
Yeah. Like release it instead of numb it.
right. And
Yeah.
then go, and then after we did that whole worldwide scream, we could go, okay, I'm loosening up a bit. Like, I don't have to make this all mean so much. Listen, there's real things. There's trauma in the body. There's deep emotion. There's so many things playing within us that we don't even know about. I'm not aiming to simplify that, but what I am saying is that the reason I say to get out of your head, you need to get into your body, is because we're so uptight. We're not used to moving our bodies anymore, and nobody's used to living without inhibitions anymore. And this is something that I know my dance career was a gift, because I can't say I was ever the best dancer in the room. I was never the most technical. I was never the most well rehearsed, because I was never the most disciplined, but I was always told, and I can say this confidently now, but I would have hidden away from it at the time, that people would watch me.
Yeah.
Couldn't help but watch me. And I know now, looking back, that's because I used to get so lost in it.
Yeah.
I loved to move my body. I loved dancing, right? So I would go on stage and I would genuinely just move my body until further in my career, when I didn't like a costume and I thought I looked fat, which is ridiculous. But all of these different things would get in my way. But for the most part, I would just get lost in dance. And why I'm telling you that story is just that's what I want us to do. I want us to get lost in our bodies and be like without inhibition. And that's when that inner freedom, we're searching for this inner freedom, but we're doing it in the wrong way. We're trying to make logic of it, but like we're not, like we're born from a sperm and an egg. Like, come on. you know
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true. We're trying to make logic of it. We want, like, I know for me, like, I want like a step-by-step process of like how I'm going to get from here to here. And it's just over and over realizing that there is no step-by-step process. And sometimes it's not like, okay, how am I going to get to the point of losing my inhibition or accepting myself or letting go? It's, you're just going to have to fucking do it. Like, you just
right.
have to do it. You just have to make the decision that it's going to be
You
that way,
just
and
have to
then
decide.
make that
Yeah.
decision over and over and over again. But it's so, because, there is so much trauma stored in the body, and there are so many things that are programmed in that we need to reprogram. It's so easy and subconscious to be pulled back to your old
Just
ways.
switch into that. And before you know it, what am I doing? I'm doing this again. Like, and it's so easy. And I really try and take the shame away from that. And I actually allow myself, like when I put Oakley to bed, I love to scroll on Instagram for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just like, it calms me. Like, I don't want to live a life where I don't have access to those things a little bit, but I want to have autonomy over it. I don't want to be like, well, I've just been on my phone for 2 hours and I didn't realize 2 hours went by and now I've got shame. Now, it's so easy to go unconscious. It's about staying conscious and making those daily decisions, like you just said. And then with
So
the body, like how many people love running? I fucking hate running, but
yeah.
I like the feeling of it. People love running because they get to a point where they have to really decide to keep running, and then they're in their run and they get in this zone, right? That's the same thing I'm talking about, but with that freedom, like, but that's what I want people to be able to do.
To move. I feel like, because I just started really going to yoga classes a couple months ago, but I feel like it's really beautiful in that way where I have to be in my body and I have to be focusing on what's happening and really feeling it. And I can't be in my head. Like if I'm running or if I'm walking, or not that I'm running, if I'm walking or even if I'm strength training, I can still get in my head.
Right.
I can still get into that noise and not realize I'm in that noise. But in yoga, I can't.
I remember, I think my first like real moment of like meditation being after a yoga class, and like I have an on-off relationship with yoga, but I have felt that it's just able to get me in. I work to the point and then there's just like this piece within it. And there's music for me too. Like if I have music, it changes everything.
Yeah. Well, I told you one of the things that used to really let me get out of my head and just focus and meditative was I just tried to learn how to decorate cookies, which I'm still horrible at. But it really turned off my mind and I really had to focus and it was creative and it felt really good. And this last time I tried to do it, I was like, you know what? When we moved, I accidentally left all of my materials at the old house and I hadn't done it for a couple of years. So I went and I bought new stuff and I started doing it. But now I have a 9-year-old daughter and she wanted to be with me the entire time I was doing it. And she'd be like, is that what you meant to do, mommy? Are you happy with how that looks, mommy? Is that good? Is that what you wanted, mommy? It's okay, mommy. And I thought, well, shit, this is not going to work.
Well, shit, this is not in my free flow now.
Yeah. I'm like, we can do this together.
This is
have
so
fun
cute.
together, but like it's a completely different experience. So that's not going to be it.
You know what it is though, Jessie? Is you can't create whilst you're in survival mode. It's very hard.
Wait, that's so big. Wait, you have to say it again because it's so true. When we're in survival mode and we have all this anxiety, you can't.
If you're being chased by a lion, you're not going to go, oh, let me just decorate this cookie.
Yeah.
You're thinking, what are my options? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to be safe? And we're living our life.
Who's out to get me? Where's the danger?
Where's the danger?
Whatever danger
like
is
coloring. If you were being chased by a lion, you're not going to sit down and color. So eventually, if you color for long enough, you're gonna sink out of that. Yeah. But the trick is now doing that enough, practicing that enough, so that you don't need to be decorating the cookie.
Right.
My son just came home. I might put my headphones on.
Okay. You're here. No, you're so right. And when we think listen, for me, Jess, being in that fight or flight was the only way I felt like I was going to make progress in my life. If I didn't have that angst and that fear, then I wasn't pouring into my business. I wasn't growing. I wasn't taking care of people. I wasn't supporting my family. I didn't know how to feel like I was making good choices and progress in life if I wasn't in a state of just total.
And that's what we've seen, Jessie. It's like not even like that's what you see. You know, even on movies, like the big earner will be like, oh, I've got to take this. You know, like they're constantly on the move. We haven't seen much representation of what it looks like to be in your power, in your joy, and successful in a business financially. Like that doesn't get represented much, but it is, in fact, it's the most powerful. And I think that.
But if you look at the big ones, like if you look at some of the people though, at least how they portray themselves, they are doing a lot of that and trusting the process. And what's so, wild to me is some of the greatest gifts that I've experienced in my life, I did not plan for. The universe put them into motion. Yet here I am still trying to control my day to day when the good, really good stuff was completely random. I mean, okay, this morning, how many people try to get tickets to see Beyonce? Right? Yes. Like you get online, you try to get these tickets. I got a text from my mom this morning. I can't go, but she's like, I have 2 free tickets to Beyonce tonight. You want to go? Like I didn't, it's just the good stuff.
Right.
Just happens. Yet it's so hard for me. I'm still learning to let go and trust it'll keep happening. Because what I think is if I fully surrender and I let go, what if it doesn't come and then I did nothing, right? So I'm still in that mindset
That's
of
the thing.
figuring it
It's that
out.
it's so vulnerable. It
Yes,
it
that's a
brings me
good
back to
word.
when I used to teach dance, right, to professionals, and I would be like, they would be perfect. They have rehearsed every step. They have every move, their hair looks good. There's perfect, but there's like between 90 and 100%, or 80, I would even say between 80 and 100% of that's that person. It's about letting go.
Yeah.
And you can tell when you watch somebody who, like, this is why someone like Beyonce is a great example of when she's so magical on stage, because she's there. She lets go. She doesn't care if she looks ugly in that moment. She's going to pull the face that comes up. And so this is what I've seen in dance for all these years, right? People trying to be too put together, and they're great. They're going to get the job, but they're not going to. There's that something missing, and
Yeah.
it's that letting go. It's that inhibition, being free, because they're too worried about what everyone thinks of them. We love to see people. We're triggered by people who actually are free of inhibitions. But this is what we need to apply without being dancers. We need to apply this into life. Like, what would my life look if I was without inhibition?
If we're
You know,
so drawn to people that don't have inhibitions, why do we keep our inhibitions?
right? But we're also triggered by them, because we're like,
Oh.
why is she doing that? That's so da, 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 da. You know, like, as
Oh, okay, yeah.
when you see people, like, it's great if it's like a Beyonce, but if it's like a woman who decided to have no kids and she lives like, I don't know, no, she wears no bra and she wears these. Like, I went to see Healer in Costa Rica, and even I went, wow, this woman, it's a lot. But you know what? She had no inhibitions.
Yeah.
And I was like this, I was like a sponge, but she was just so in her, so just, yeah, you know, but she don't fit into normal society because they know where to put her.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. It's so true. I can see like we are triggered by that. And then, but I also envy when I see somebody who's just fully in themselves and owns it and just has that confidence. I feel so drawn to it. Like I want to character study them, really.
Right.
I just want to
Yeah.
sit and watch, go
Yeah.
through their day to day and just watch them be. Yeah, we're all stuck in our heads. But even as a mom,
Oh
when I
yeah.
see my kids with their inhibitions, I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Like,
Whoa. What was that?
let's
Yeah.
not do that. Like, we don't care what other people think, and you know, we don't care about
Yeah.
whatever it is they're talking about. Yet here I am having the same feelings about myself. So I really think motherhood really has made me check myself
For
more than
sure. Yeah. See, that's
so
crazy
many.
because I have a 2-year-old. So like, he's still got no inhibitions. Like,
Yeah,
he's really in that. If I'm feeling this big feeling, I'm going to throw myself down on the pavement and scream about it. So
yeah.
I haven't seen that bit like creep in yet, but I should imagine that's like, oh wow, I'm seeing this. Like
Oh
he went to
yeah,
yesterday and he's the only boy there, and they only had pink shoes, and he goes, and I just loved seeing him go in there with no preconceived ideas about who he was meant to be. Like, it makes
yeah.
me emotional thinking about that. Whereas a few years later, he would go in and be like, should I be doing this? Should I not? Like,
Yeah.
it got in him already.
Yeah. Um, it's so true that the inhibitions, they do come. And I remember being the child wanting to just fit in. I just wanted
Right.
to be like my friends. Like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna wear? What? And then when I now watch my kids have those same things, it triggers me to be like, we
Mm,
don't care. I don't care what so and so is
yes.
doing. What do you
Yes.
want? Who do you want to be?
Ooh.
It's a
Yeah.
thing that's happening. And they also, mine are 9 and 11, so when they see somebody without inhibitions or somebody making different life choices or living their truth, there's questions, and all
Yeah.
we can do is say, like, that's what makes them happy. If they're not
Yeah.
hurting anybody and if it's safe, then I mean, they're listening to
Yeah.
their heart. And I really want my kids not just to listen to their heart, but to trust themselves. I want them to trust themselves.
Yeah. And to make decisions based on that, and not, I agree. But it is such a journey as a mom, because they're just watching us. And then we're
Oh,
going, oh, like, oh, I do speak to myself like that, or I do, and
mhm.
it can be hard. Again, it's going back to, it takes courage to say, what am I doing now? What can I shift to help be an example of that for them.
And it's pretty crazy how much we do that we don't even realize we're doing that they're watching. The other day, I was just putting on my makeup, and I love makeup. It's another moment where I can just be creative and do something with my hands and kind of zone out. But my daughter, she's watching. She even said to me this morning, "Can I put on some makeup before I go to school?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. You're not wearing makeup." But I just felt her watching me, and I looked at her and I said, "I just want you to know why I wear makeup. I wear makeup because I think it's fun and it makes me happy. I don't wear makeup because I think I need to, or it makes me prettier, or I'm ugly without it," which that's not true.
I know,
There's a lot of reasons why I wear makeup, but I don't want her to think this is what's going to make her worthy.
Yeah, wow. That's so true. I'm just even thinking about when I'm like, I go out with no makeup a lot, but I'm like, oh, my bag's under my eyes. And then like what they would be hearing if I said that. It's just so,
Because I mean, when they were younger, I didn't think about that stuff. But as they're aging, I'm like, okay, what are they picking up on?
What are they looking at? Yeah.
Even if they're not saying it, they're internalizing.
Yeah. They're making a decision about everything they're seeing, which can feel like a lot of pressure. I always think that we're doing the best we can, but to check ourselves is the biggest gift we could probably give them.
Yeah, I just want to be really, really intentional in how I'm raising them. I mean, I guess selfishly, I just don't want them to have a lot of the inhibitions or fears or pain that I've experienced. So, but I also think it's really important. Actually, my husband said this the other day, that if we go too far to raise them how we wish we were raised, like, are we
forcing
or doing damage on the other end? I don't know. It's just all complicated.
Trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to come back to that trust. Trust is hard because it's out of our control and we don't like that. It feels alien, especially in survival mode. It's like, I see myself like searching for the danger, and then you do it as a mother bear. And it's a lot of stress hormone. It's a lot of flooding, and we have to so consciously move the other way. And that's why I think dancing or moving your body is such a good way to get you out of that, and you see kids do it so much more easily than we do.
They do. Sydney, my daughter, that's what she does. She dances. And it really is a beautiful thing because I'm not a dancer. I've never been a dancer. To watch because she has so much fun while she's doing it, but it's also teaching so many skills. But then when she's home, she's always dancing.
Right.
There's always music and she's always dancing and she's always finding that joy. And it's really hard to dance. I mean, maybe as a professional, it's different, but I would imagine it's really hard to dance and be upset simultaneously.
Yeah. And even if you are like, I would dancing numbers where you're like emotional, but it feels like it feels like
a good release,
like a good release. And it's something we generally do for joy or presence or celebration.
Right. You can't be in your head stressing about something while you're dancing, right?
If you really go there, then it's and that's the point where I want to get everyone to. If you really get there and you're able to just be in your body and be in that movement, and then it's very hard to be going, but what if I do this or what if I do that? And oh my God, did I say that to that person? And what if they do that? And what if I lose all my money? And blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's hard. And then you're practicing it because what we practice, we get good at. So if I'm practicing being present, I'm going to be better at tomorrow. And if I keep practicing at the moment, and I say this to everyone, what are you practicing? Do you want to, the way you live today, do you want that to be the rest of your life? Because that's what you're practicing.
You're rehearsing. Was this Joe Dispenza? Was this you?
He always talks about mental rehearsal.
You're like rehearsing maybe you told me that you're rehearsing the life you don't want when you do the same thing every single day.
And then you're talking about how much you don't want it.
Yeah.
And then and you're still being in the same energy. And it's like, that's, yes, there's some room for that. But for the most part, it's like, what do you want? How can you practice that now?
Mm-hmm. And you have to be as somebody who's working on this currently, you have to be very intentional about it. And you have to be all the time checking yourself and coming back to your conscious mind because it's so easy to get back to your subconscious place. it's just so, it takes so much discipline until all of a sudden it feels a little bit more natural and a little bit more
Right.
natural and a little bit more natural. And the other thing is, whatever it is we're trying to achieve, whether it's how we're raising our kids or how we're showing up at work or what kind of friend that we're being, if you're in this state of chaos in your mind, no
Right.
matter what you say or what story you're telling, if your energy is heavy,
Oh yeah.
everybody can feel the fear, the anxiety, the inhibitions that you're giving off despite what you're
Yeah.
trying to tell them.
There's so much unspoken communication, and it's just like, I've lived in chaos. When I was on ships, it's like my overthinking got so bad. I couldn't get to sleep at night. I'd wake up sweating, and it would be
Yeah.
over minor things. And it got so out of control that I remember one night Martin had to take me out of the room, and we just had to go look at the ocean. And
Oh,
I just had to like breathe. And it was like middle of the night, it was like 4 a.m. and I was just looking at the ocean. And I just had to somehow remind myself that this wasn't real, but that ocean is on our, like, for me, I was like, it's on this ball that's floating. like my
yeah.
thoughts about what that person might think of me are not this important. It's just
Yeah.
like, for first adding meaning to it over and over, to the point where it feels dangerous. It feels like a predator.
But
And
it's
I have
not
become my own
even,
predator.
yeah, it's not even necessarily real. I saw a funny little meme or whatever on Instagram once, but it really stuck with me. It's like, you can't hurt my feelings because I'm an overthinker. I hurt my
Right.
own feelings.
Done it. And the body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So
Yeah.
when we practice failure, we feel like we failed.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
thinking, we're doing it all the time. And yeah, there's some room for release and therapy. And I have therapy every 2 weeks. I'm a huge advocate for it. I love therapy. I think there's a huge space for it in all of our lives. And I think we've got to get into our bodies. We've got to get living in this energy. We've got to move to something. We've got to show our bodies what to do instead. Otherwise, like, if you've told a dog to do this its whole life and then you block that entryway, it's not necessarily going to go off and explore the rest. It's going to sit outside that entryway going, I don't know who to be if I'm not this, because this is
Yeah.
who you taught me to be. So we need to kind of practice, what does running through the fields look like? What does it look like to skinny dip? In my life, I'm not talking about actual skinny dipping. Do your thing. I would love to do it. But I'm talking about to just be in our essence, in our joy, in our presence, in our bodies, and just enjoy where we're at. And that's what we're not good at. We're not good at it. We're really fucking bad at it, to be honest.
We really are. And part of me is like, yeah, nope, that's me. Like, it's also hard. Everything's heavy. I'm scared. I'm scared of this. I need to do this. And then the other part of me is like, what am I waiting for? Just like, let it be fun.
Right.
Let it be easy.
Right.
Like, if I'm not going to worry about it in 2 years, why am I worrying about it now? Just
Right.
let it be joyful. I want my kids and those around me to feel good when they're around me. So I need to feel good in my body. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a whole onion to unravel.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful journey. What would be your advice for somebody that's like, you know what? I do need to start making the shift. There is a better way to live and I want to achieve it, but they're brand new to this. What would be like your top things that you would say, okay, let's ease you in, start here?
My top things would be to become really aware of the things you say to yourself, and just start to observe the conversation that's going on, or the feelings that you're used to being in. And when you observe that, you will, but try not to judge it. You will a bit, but just try. And just, I would just say, just start to look at the relationship you have with yourself, and then ask yourself, is this promoting peace and joy for myself? And the answer, I don't know what the answer be. Only you can say that. But then once you become aware of that, it holds less power. It's much more powerful when it's unconscious, versus when you begin to notice it and you go, you might not know what to do with it yet, but you go, hey, that was really shitty, the thing I just said to myself, or why am I doing this? And just becoming aware and stepping back and becoming, if we are greater than that, then we don't have to attach so much meaning to it, and just say, hey, look at this habit I'm doing.
Yeah.
We are always going around going, I'm an overthinker, I'm anxious, I'm an overworker, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. No, that is your habit, that is your
Yeah.
habitual way. You're not that, because there is actually limitless possibility within us. And so my first thing would be just observe, just start looking. And my second thing would be create. Do some things to create just for the sake of creating. Coloring, cookie. I'm crocheting a blanket. It's taken me a year because I only do one bit every 2 weeks, but I'm crocheting a blanket, so nobody can come for me. Like just create something. Just start practicing that, and those two things will start your journey, I believe.
Yeah.
Journey.
I think they're really good. I think one thing for me that's been really helpful for me is to stop shoulding all over the place.
Right.
So like making so many decisions on, oh, I should do this and I should do that. Like sure as hell felt like I should go to Beyonce tonight. I have a free ticket to Beyonce, but it didn't make sense for me and my family and it would have created chaos. So it was really finding the power and being like,
yeah,
I shouldn't do anything. I need to listen to myself and
where is the
trust
should
myself.
coming from? The should is, for me, the should was always coming from trying to look the best way, or look the most successful, or look the this, and actually, but I took a pause because I thought you said to stop shitting everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing, really.
Kind of the same.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah, really powerful when we step back and say, fuck the shoulds. What do I want? What's going to promote? My obsession at the moment is making decisions that promote my inner peace. And that's, to me, what alignment means. Alignment means being conscious enough to make decisions that promote the most peace for me and my family. And peace is just being able to be present in joy, and sometimes it's not joy, but joy is available, and presence is available, and peace is available in all of the tapestry of what's going to happen in our life. So if it, I always see these memes like, if it doesn't bring me peace, wealth, or this, and I'm saying no, but there's something to it, like being conscious enough to make those decisions, to realize, was that a should, or did I really want to do that?
Yeah, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And that's, for me, it's really hard because I very, my subconscious mind instantly goes to, well, what would someone else do? What would they think if I did this? Or why is my decision this? And everyone else would choose, everyone else would go to
you become the predator. I become my own predator. Now I have this looming lion within me that's saying, but that's not going to be good enough, or that's going to be that, it's going to be that. And we just have to, the other side has to become bigger and go, yeah, sure, okay, fine. I've tried this way for quite a while. I'm just gonna try this way now. You can chill.
Yeah.
And just doing that enough times, honestly.
And to feel that release when you make the decision that you are aligned with, to feel, for me, it's like a heaviness in my chest when I'm doing something that I think I should be doing, but I don't really want to be doing. And then when you make that decision that does feel aligned, just that the lift of that feeling, the lightness that comes in, I mean, that in itself is worth a lot.
Yeah. It's those little decisions that are going to really create moments that we remember.
Oh, Jess,
I don't want to go.
Oh my God. I know. Well, we'll do it again.
We'll have to.
You literally have to go. You have to go.
I have to go.
Oakley.
I have to go be mama. That's another thing. It's like we're not giving ourselves space in between all of our roles to understand who we are, so we become defined by our roles. And that's something that I think is really important. You're more than all of it. We're more than all of it. We really are.
We really are.
So much more powerful than we think we are.
I know. Oh, it's releasing so much shit to get there, but you can do it, and it feels so much. No, it's hard along the way, but then you feel the moments of what it feels like as you're getting there, and it's worth every second of it.
Every second.
It really is. It really is.
You hear him
Thank
say,
you.
Mommy?
No, okay, it's your time.
Say mommy at the door, like he knew the time I was going to be done.
Oh, so sweet. Okay, go be a mama. Thank
this
you.
is epic. I just love being in your energy. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Like,
oh my gosh.
I feel like this was just the start, because I feel like we could go for another hour. So
okay, well, we will.
All right. Thanks, Jessie.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye.